Welcome to the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast. I am your host, Dylan, along with my cousin and co-host,
Gab.
And today we're talking about a movie that I have nominated as a movie to watch before you die, that I submit to the Pantheon to join the ranks of the Movies to Watch Before You Die, to add it to the list. But before we do that, and you already know what movie it is because you can see the title of this podcast, but Gab, tell the people why they're listening to us real quick.
We're awesome. We're good at this. We've been doing this for a long time. We love movies. We love talking about movies. And we love arguing. And I think that's really the most important part.
I do love to argue. Even if I'm wrong, I'll argue like the wrong position just for the sake of it.
Yeah. No, 100%. And you do that often because you're often wrong.
Hurtful but fair. Continuing on past your insult. Today we are talking about the 1996 nostalgic classic. I did stutter a little bit there. Matilda. So, Gab, I want you to tell me, what is Matilda about?
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I dive at your bottom. I bloody well ought to.
Matilda is about a girl whose parents hate her, who gets really smart from learning learns how to read and then gets really smart from reading and unlocks part of her brain that most people don't have access to.
Your description of Matilda has turned into that Scarlett Johansson movie where she gets superpowers. I guess it's sort of like that, like a kiddie version of that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it in opinion time, but I was a little bit like, this movie doesn't have as much magic as I was led to believe it did.
Who told you it had magic?
I mean, I nobody told me. That was just what I assumed from what I had heard about this movie.
Well, what do they say about when you assume?
Make an ass out of you. Me.
All right. Well, let me read you the IMDb plot summary. And I did not add this word to make one of our listeners feel better. A girl gifted with a keen intellect and psychic powers uses both to deal with her crude, distant family and free her kind teacher from their sadistic headmistress.
Interesting. Okay. I suppose that's what it's about.
Are you debating that yours was better?
No, I think I went into it with the like, okay, here's a movie about magic. And then there wasn't as much magic as I thought. So I was like,
I've never thought of it as being about magic at all. I think she's just a very naturally intelligent little girl. And then obviously she has like her powers, but it's not like she's Harry Potter casting spells.
Yeah, I thought she was magic. Anyway, I'll tell you what is magic. Danny fucking DeVito.
Yes, and we will certainly talk about him more. But before we talk about Danny DeVito more, do you want to hear some taglines?
Oh boy, something tells me I don't, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you don't, Gav. These are some lazy trash kids movie taglines.
Oh boy, all right. Here
Which
we go.
the first one is going to go against what I feel like I was just saying. A little magic goes a long way.
See, they're like, it's a magic movie, and it's not a magic movie.
I don't know
now,
why
Magic
I heard
Mike.
that. Instead of hearing that as it's a magic movie, I heard you as like Super Mario. It's a magic movie.
Oh my God. One time we were at a meeting at work and we had to read. They made us write what we thought the company's mission statement would be, I guess, to rally the troops and get us excited. And it wound up being bullshit. And I I waited until the last second and I went, okay, I'll read it, but I'm going to read it in the Mario voice.
I do feel like that would spice up meetings.
It really did. I was very proud of that. That's one of the things that Corey said. He was like, that's when I knew when you did the Mario voice. And I was like, thank you. I'm glad that's what did it.
The second one feels like, again, one of those generic, kids are stupid. They'll like this tagline. Kids rule.
Are you fucking kidding me?
There's an exclamation point on it. It's full on kids rule.
Okay. I hate that. That's lazy and stupid.
Yeah. And here's the third one. Somewhere inside all of us is the power to change the world.
I mean, at least that one is decent.
And that goes more with the theme of the movie, which is about how every one of us is unique in some way type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us are uniquely shitty.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the taglines I got for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then let's dive right in.
In this critic's opinion,
that's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
starting with some opinions. What do you got?
Oh, you want me to go?
Yeah, you've never seen this before. I'm very curious. I'm hoping
Um,
that you liked it because this movie has indelibly like stuck in my mind for eternity. Like I showed it to my niece and she loved it, and I'm hopeful you liked it, and I'm hopeful that it wasn't like it's too late. My cold heart won't allow me to enjoy this.
I will start with Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman. First of all, what happened?
Oh, with the two of them in general.
Yeah.
So I thought the story had like a sadder ending than it does because they're still technically married. They separated in 2017, but according to the two of them, they are closer friends than ever. Like Rhea Perlman literally said, we're closer friends now than we were during our marriage. They have no intention of
That's
getting actually divorced,
interesting. So they're just not romantic.
I guess.
That's interesting. What say you on that?
You know what? If it works for him, it works for him. Who am I to judge?
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Those two together were the best part of the movie for me. Like when they were on the screen, I was 100% in. Here's another opinion. Their bedroom, yes, the parents' bedroom, um, really reminded me of your parents' bedroom.
So is it just the big mirror in their room that makes you think of my parents' bedroom growing up?
Well, didn't they have a section of like tile?
Yes, because it used to be our childhood house used to be like two separate apartments, like downstairs and upstairs were two separate living spaces. So there was a kitchen in what was their bedroom.
Is that true?
Yes, like a small kitchen. So they had like a gas connection for an oven in that room, I think.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was two separate living spaces.
Yeah, you don't remember they also had a door that led to like you could technically have left the house through their upstairs bedroom,
Yeah, I mean,
which
I
there was no
guess
staircase
so.
anymore, so you would have just fallen out. Like,
Yeah, but we weren't allowed to open that door. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
because you would have just fallen out, Gab. It was like a private
right,
door.
right. Wow. It's a miracle that we didn't. Wow. I don't think I realized that. I thought it was just like a very like late 80s, early 90s thing to have like a section of tile in your bedroom.
It could just go along with my mom's many like very specific style things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very specific.
very specific. But my mom had the most niche of styles. Our laundry room was styled as in every tchotchke you could find.
The refrigerator was full of every magnet ever made.
There was also an entire wall of magnets,
Yes, yes. Yeah,
which
by
were
the laundry room.
very impressive.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and all somehow related to your lives.
No. I mean, maybe at one point they were, but at some point it just became like a quest to get every magnet. And I'm like, how stupid to buy so many magnets. Meanwhile, I have like well over 600 DVDs and counting, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, honestly.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. It didn't skip a generation, Dill. You got it. You just got it different.
Well, maybe the baldness will.
Oh my God, we can only hope. Yeah. What else like weird things did your parents do that you find yourself as an adult kind of taking on? Because I can think of two very specific ones that I've sort of created. One of them is my dad did not ever let me do anything until like all of my homework was done, and my mom would always make me have like all my permission slips done and my lunch made for the next day and like everything done before I could like play or like go out with my friends. So now as an adult, I literally cannot relax until everything on my to-do list is done. Like it is so bad and so just like detrimental to my mental health. Like I cannot sit down and relax if there is an empty glass on the table. I have to put it in the sink or the dishwasher. Like I just can't. It's not good.
Yeah, I feel like I was the same way, and now I feel like as I've been relearning how to be a person, marriage, I feel like what I have found is that there are some things that are priorities of like, no, this thing has to get done. But there are some things that are like, that doesn't have to get done. Like,
Yeah.
it also depends on the day. There are some days where it's like, oh, I do have to get everything done today. And there are some days where I'm like, I don't feel like it.
Yeah. I need a little bit of that because I'm still like not able to relax at all. The second thing that I got is like, my parents used to have this weird rule where like one day of the weekend, you weren't allowed to have fun. Like if you had fun on Saturday, on Sunday, you had to like clean and like quote unquote rest.
I feel like I do
as
the
a
same
kid,
thing.
I was like, what the fuck is the matter with them? Like, I want to go out Saturday and Sunday. Like, I want to do stuff. And my mom was like, you have to take a day off. Like, you can't just always be busy. If you're busy on Saturday, you got to be home on Sunday. And I thought it was so stupid. And now I'm like, God for fucking bid. I have plans on Saturday and Sunday. I just cannot do it. I need a day to sit on the couch.
Well, now you say that, I'm like, you're doing things on one of those days? Like, half the time I'm like, wait, one of those days is clean day and the other day is nap day.
Yeah. I mean, now, thank God, but
We're slang from Matilda just to like, don't get old.
It's so true.
God.
What about,
the only
is there
thing that I
anything
can
else?
think of right now is like instant and intense anger at irrational things.
Well, yeah.
Like I'll be fine if it's like, we could be in a deeply serious situation and me and Giselle are like, we will come together. This will be fine. Meanwhile, I could be getting ice cubes from the refrigerator door, which I love that refrigerator door dispenses ice cubes. It makes me feel like such an adult. I'm like, look at me.
Yeah. It's very
and
fancy.
an ice cube misses the cup and hits the floor, and I'm like, fuck. Like like you may as well have just punched me as hard as you could in my kidneys. That's the reaction I'm giving.
Yeah. Now,
so
which
that's nice.
parent do you think that came from?
Oh my God. Which parent do you think that came from, Cap? I'm pretty sure I know.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah, I also have some serious emotional regulation issues from my parents in a very similar way where like I could be having a really, really great day and one thing will happen and I will just decide that my day is ruined. And like in 30 to 45 minutes, I will decide to unruin the day. But like, it is very easy for me to be like, well, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we know. I think that's the side that we're related on.
I think it's from both sides of mine.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got it on both sides, but we're only related on one side. So I think that's where it came from.
I could do an It's Always Sunny quote, but you wouldn't understand it, Gab. You have
Do
to
it
watch
anyway.
that show.
Do it anyway.
I'm playing
I
both
will.
sides, so I always come out on top. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't, but
I know.
it works.
You told
for
me
this
to do it
instance.
anyway. It means nothing. But
You did.
Matilda, fortunately, circling back around, gets
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
from either of her parents.
Yeah. So I think the best part was the two of them for sure. Incredible.
Really?
Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman?
Are the very best part to you?
Yes.
Because I think Pam Ferris is given the most as the Trunchbull, and she's phenomenal.
All right. So here's the thing. And I understand that I watched this for the first time as an adult. So it whatever. The idea that this woman hated children so much. Number one, hold on. We're going to do it. We're going to get into this now. Okay.
Spoiled
Number
rotten
one.
children. Glad I never was one.
Yeah. Like hated children so much. Number two, was the principal of the school, even though she hated children so much, like, you know what I mean? It's like a vegan working at McDonald's. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. Number three, that she was physically abusing these kids and nobody said anything, including Miss Honey, who seems to be like a very virtuous woman. And then also, what about all the other teachers? Like, yes, Miss Honey is her niece, and we understand that, like, there's a little bit of sensitivity there, but like, there were no other adults to like ring the alarm on this, blow the whistle.
Yeah, we just never see anyone else. But quite frankly, Gab, I feel like you've probably worked in enough environments to know that if there's somebody who is an asshole in power, they normally just stay there. The things don't change. But also, you have to remember, this is a movie about a little girl who has telekinetic powers, and you have to give it some leeway.
Right. And I understand
it's supposed to be a bit fantastical.
It just like...
Which almost sounds like fantastical.
It does. I don't know. Like, I was on the ride for the Trenchbull. Hold on. Is it Trenchbull or Trunchbull?
Trunch, that's a U.
Okay. Because I call myself her whenever I leave the gym because I always look like her. But I never know if it's Trench or Trunch. So I'm glad you just answered that for me. Trunchbull. I was behind her being really mean. I was kind of behind her picking up the girl by the pigtails. After that, I was like, there has to be a touch of reality, or like there needs to be like some explanation as to like why she is this way or how she got this way or why she's in this role or why nobody ever says anything to her. Like it jumped the shark for me in that regard. And I understand this is a children's movie, but like, I mean, Danny DeVito directed this. Roald Dahl wrote it. Like nobody was like, let's give a little bit of background here.
Well, I think you're asking for background on like not the most important character. You know what I mean? I think we have background and explanation for feelings and motives of Matilda, of Miss Honey. We sort of even her parents. But Miss Trunchbull is just meant to be a villain. And obviously, your best villains are people that we do understand, you know, that we have a better feeling for why they do these villainous things.
Yeah.
But
now,
I think it does probably work better if you saw this for the first time as a kid and you're just like, oh my God, she's terrifying. Because I can tell you, I can't remember what movie it was that we watched where it was The Lovely Bones, where one of the few things we complimented was Stanley Tucci trapping the sister in the house. And we were like, oh my God, that was scary. When they are trying to escape Trunchbull's house and she's just stomping through that house with that music in the background, that dun, 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 dun. I was in as a kid. I was like, oh my God, the Trunchbull's coming.
That was your first locked in the house experience,
exactly.
You know, in a movie. Yeah.
Not in reality, certainly. No.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah. You know, the other thing too that I kind of had the same issue with was like Matilda's parents hating her that much. Like it just, I don't know. It was like they have this other kid that they don't hate, but they hate her to a point where they don't even know how old she is and she's not going to school. Like that's illegal. And I obviously understand that they're doing other illegal things. And I'm certain that that's not like unheard of in our world, but it just felt like there was no good explanation as to why they hated her so much.
I mean, is there always a good explanation for why somebody doesn't like you? And I totally get what you're asking for. Do I think you're wrong for asking for it? Absolutely not. I just don't think you want to see the 2 hour and 20-minute version of Matilda that dives into the Trunchbull's background and the parents' reasons for disliking Matilda. Maybe they just want to have one kid. You know, she says a line at one point. She goes, Matilda, you're the only daughter I ever had, and I never once for a second understood you. And that's it. She's just not like them, and they don't like her.
Yeah, but they didn't like her when they left the hospital with her.
Yeah, and I think something you realize is she was never meant to be part of that family.
Yeah.
Like, that's why it's not a sad thing when at the end she's got the adoption papers ready. Well, major spoilers, obviously, but she's like, I'm outies. Like, Miss Honey, sign these papers. It's done.
I also think, obviously, it doesn't work that way, number one.
Yeah,
but
probably
number
not,
two,
but again, it's a movie.
Yeah, I understand that.
Nobody's ever able to race through the airport and, like, tell somebody they love them. You got to go through TSA first, you know?
That is true. Well, not back in the day. In the day, you could go right to the gate, sir.
With a bomb in your shoe.
That's post 9/11 you're talking about. Pre 9/11, you could go right up to that motherfucking gate. The other thing was it's a little inappropriate that Miss Honey was like hanging out with Matilda outside of school. Like, you cannot do that.
I guess. I feel like that's such a recent, like, groomer thing. Like, no, I think she was nurturing what she believed to be an extremely intelligent child. And I also think she found a kindred spirit in this child who was being treated very improperly by her guardian, which she grew up being very improperly treated by her guardian, who became Miss Trunchbull. After what is inappropriate in this movie is the allusion to, like, either her dad killing himself or being murdered. Like, I'm like, oh wow, that's a thing that I don't pick up on that much as a kid, but you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. This is why I know that it is not legal for a teacher to spend any time with a student outside of school. You remember my sister Amanda?
What?
So when I was 7, my mom taught journalism, which was like an after school thing. And every year they went out to Applebee's for like an end of the year dinner. And when I was 7, my mom took me. And there was a senior named Amanda who was in journalism, one of my mom's favorite students. And I loved Amanda. And like, I was like obsessed with her. I spent the whole dinner with her. And then eventually my mom and Amanda, like after she graduated, Amanda came to our house and hung out with me and would take me to the movies. And like, I still talk to Amanda today. Like, I decided when I was 7 that Amanda was my sister. And she has just been involved in like every aspect of my life. You definitely have met her before.
Probably, but you scared the crap out of me into thinking like there's a cousin I don't know exists.
No.
Do they keep her in the basement?
We're not really related. No, but anyway, I remember one time my mom, before she graduated, my mom was driving her home from school because she didn't have a ride. And it was like a really, really big deal that like Amanda walk off of school property to like the end of the block and my mom pick her up and then drive her because she wasn't allowed to have a student get in her car at school. And like she wasn't allowed to come over until after she graduated. Like it was just like a really, and I don't think it was like a my mom is in a neurotic mess thing. I think it was like a you really like can't do that.
I get that. On the other hand, you're also probably not legally supposed to pick your students up by the pigtails and try and throw them into a spiked fence.
Right. And that's why I brought that up before this.
Yeah, I'm just like, you're thinking too much about the legalities of that. Yeah, probably.
I'm just saying that it was just like, there was a lot of it that was like, okay. And I don't know. I was a little bit like, okay.
I'm just saying, Gab, where's the consistency? Where's the consistency? Last week, Over the Garden Wall, you're like, yeah, that was realistic enough because there's like a scene where they're in the real world. Give me some leeway here, Gab. Give me a smidgen of leeway.
Listen, I have not told you what I felt about it. I'm just telling you that all of those things were,
feeling a lot of negativity here.
Oh, listen, I'm drinking 2% milk right now.
Tis the season. This is a negativity scene. Is that what the Christians call it? A negativity scene?
Yeah. With the little baby, the
angry baby Jesus, the very negative baby Jesus. Yes.
Yeah. And all the fucking.
He says, I died for your sins and this is what you brought me.
Yeah. Now I'm a baby now. Fuck you. Yeah.
I like angry baby voice Jesus.
Yeah. And I like that he's Jewish. Although I think he was Jewish.
Obviously he was Jewish. He goes, drink my blood. Wah!
I'm trying to think of what else about this movie. So as I said before, there wasn't as much magic as I thought. I thought Matilda was gonna be okay. So here's the thing. Do you remember when we were kids? I was obsessed with this movie. Mara Wilson was the star. She was the little girl. And Martin Short played her fairy godmother. And it was called A Simple Wish.
I feel like I remember its existence, but I don't actually remember this movie. No, I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Who is, I can never remember this actress's name. Who's the woman with the really deep voice who played Chandler's dad on Friends?
Oh, I didn't really watch enough Friends.
Kathleen Turner. Kathleen
Yes.
Turner. I always want to say Jennifer Coolidge, and I'm like, oh, they look kind of similar, but Kathleen Turner is on another level. Kathleen Turner played the like evil whatever. Anyway, all of this to say that in that movie, Mara Wilson, no, it's not Mara Wilson, it's Martin Short, is doing all of this magic because he's a fairy godmother.
Okay.
And I think in my mind, I thought Matilda was going to be as magical as that other Mara Wilson movie because the whole thing about Matilda is that she can do all this shit with, whatever. And like, that's what made her special. But in reality, she does it like once or twice.
Her magic falls firmly between A Simple Wish and Mrs. Doubtfire. She is firmly in the middle of those two Mara Wilson movies.
Yeah. Which, by the way, are the only Mara Wilson movies.
She's done other things, but I had a hard time finding other things. And now she acts very sporadically. She still does act. I think I saw in an interview say she was like, I only really act if it's with people I feel like doing something with.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like,
what do you think her financial situation is right now? Oh, sorry.
Better than mine.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sally's is better than yours, but.
Ouch. Does Sally want to co-sign a loan?
Good one. Is Mara Wilson, you think, still making money? I mean, I paid to rent this movie, so certainly she got some kind of residual from that.
Well, yeah, certainly. Also, I think she does other things. She's not just sitting hoping to live off of Matilda residuals.
Would you?
Would I just sit and live off her residuals?
Mm-hmm.
No.
If you were Mara Wilson,
make enough money.
How do you know? That's what I'm asking you, ultimately.
I presume they wouldn't have just had a strike if every actor who worked in like 3 movies in the 90s was making enough to survive.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is a good point. All right. What else did I think about this movie? I
will say things that I didn't realize how impressive they were as a child that I'm very impressed with now. One, the makeup on the Trunchbull. because there's a lot of subtle things you don't realize that they're doing. Because first, she seems like a delightful woman in reality, but they make her look terrifying. Her teeth are painted. They're painting on individual broken capillaries and like darkening her face and adding bags to her eyes. And they added more of a point to her nose, and she's wearing a muscle suit with individual muscles sewn into it, which I have never noticed anything like that.
Yeah.
In addition, I think the special effects, except for one thing that I obviously thought of was really bad, it's when she throws the kid out the window and Matilda controls him back into the room. Like that I was like, okay, this is some, very mediocre green screen. But the rest of it for 1996 children's movie looks great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
With that. Yeah. What else has Trunchbull been in?
Not that, like, I don't want to say not that much. Not that much that I know. I think she has, somewhere slightly under 100 credits. So it's not like she's not working. She's done a good amount of shit.
Yeah, but nothing.
But there wasn't a lot that I
this.
knew very well.
Yeah. Okay.
But you'll hear which things I did pick out when we get to the facts.
When we get there. Yeah, that's fine.
Here's what I would say. I do
tell
also think, without a doubt, this is the best movie Danny DeVito's ever directed.
Well, I guess what you're saying is this movie was better than... What was the movie I picked out?
Duplex.
Duplex? I'm like, a simple move? Yeah, Duplex.
What's a simple move?
I don't know. That was all I could come up with.
Was that the Martin Short version of Duplex?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where they just simply move.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I've had so much more takeaway from Matilda than you have over the years. It's very interesting that you're like, yeah, this was a movie. That's the feeling I'm getting from you. And I'm like, to me, it's such a movie of my childhood. And there are so many quotes from this movie that I think of all the time. Like me and Zach all the time are saying to each other, can't you sell good cars, Dad? Don't people need good cars? Like it is just a consistent thing that we'll quote randomly all the time.
That's fair.
To the point that when Zach did work as a car salesman, I photoshopped his face over Danny DeVito going, I'm smart, you're dumb, I'm big, you're little, I'm right, you're wrong. There's nothing you can do about it.
That's great.
The thing about children, I'm glad I never was one. Another one, Giselle and I quote all the time, you chose books, I chose looks. That's such a good Rhea Perlman moment.
It is. I love that.
Another thing that frightened me as a kid is when she is sneaking in the room and Rhea Perlman wakes up with the sleep mask on that has eyes on it. I was like, oh! Childhood Dylan did not like it. Yeah. I guess that's all I've got. I feel like you're like, oh, there was also one quote that I did not remember that felt like a personal attack against me.
And that was?
It's Danny DeVito and his delightful narrator voice going, by the time she was 2, Matilda had learned what most people learn in their early 30s, how to take care of themselves. And I was like, some of us are still figuring it out today. Okay. Piss off.
That is true. Yeah. He said how to take care of themselves. And I was like, ooh, I'm behind.
Still in the early 30s, still got a shot.
Yeah. Still time to master it, but it's not looking good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of not looking good, why don't you get into the facts?
I want the truth!
Face the facts, ducks.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
Let's start where we normally do with our ratings, which, by the sounds of it, will be better than Gab thinks. IMDb gave this a 7 out of 10. On Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter gives it a 92% with an average rating of 7.6 out of 10, 23 fresh reviews, and 2 rotten. An audience score is 73% with an average score of 3.8 out of 5. It had a budget of $36 million. It grossed $33.5 million. I guess I would say it's a cult classic it's gone on to be, because it was definitely a movie of a lot of people's childhood.
Yeah.
The critics' consensus. Danny DeVito directed version of Matilda is odd, charming, and while the movie diverges from Roald Dahl, it nonetheless captures the book's spirit. A couple of reviews. Roger Ebert gave it 3 stars. Matilda doesn't condescend to children. It doesn't sentimentalize, and as a result, it feels heartfelt and sincere. It's funny, too. Matt Brunson from Film Frenzy, Carrie for the Kiddies. This name sounds super made up. David N. Butterworth, which I don't know where he was from. The adult performers...
Husband of the one and only Mrs. Butterworth.
Yes, that's Mr. Butterworth to you.
Yes.
The adult performers fare considerably better than the young lead in this faithful adaptation of the Roald Dahl classic. and Bianca Garner in their own league. The magic of Matilda is still strong today, and the message it sends out, "You are not alone," is something we all need to continue to hear. Let's see here. It was directed by Danny DeVito, who also directed The War of the Roses, Throw Mama from the Train, and Hoffa. It was
And
written
Duplex.
and Duplex, of course. Written by Nicholas Kazan and Robin Swycord, who also wrote Bicentennial Man, Memoirs of a Geisha, and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and it was based on the book by Roald Dahl. It stars Mara Wilson as Matilda, who you may also know from Mrs. Doubtfire, A Simple Wish, and a remake of A Miracle on 34th Street. M. Beth Davids as Miss Honey, who you may also know from Army of Darkness, 13 Ghosts, and Schindler's List.
She's also, by the way, in the morning show on Apple TV.
She pops up in very random things.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a
I'm
good
going to
actress.
tell you something right now. I hated her in this movie. Let me tell you why.
What? You hated Miss Honey?
I did. And I'm going to tell you why. Dylan, you and I are from New York, right? We are what I would call kind, but not nice. Okay. I would generalize most New Yorkers as kind, but not nice. Meaning, if your car breaks down, I'm not going to leave you stranded, but I'm also not going to like go out of my way to be like, "Hi, how are you?" You know what I mean? I'm just going to be like, "Hey," like, I just feel like that's normal. And people like Miss Honey, who are very soft spoken and really kind and kind of a doormat. I fucking can't stand them. And it's not because I am, it's not because of how I behave. It's because they make me feel uncomfortable, because I'm like, surely there's a person in there, right? Like, surely at some point you thought to yourself, I should tell Trunchbull to stop being such a fucking bitch, right? Like, did that not occur to you? Or are you just so meek and pathetic that you couldn't possibly stand up for yourself? You know what I mean? Like, don't be pathetic. I hate pathetic people.
Oh, that hurt my soul so much. First of all, Miss Honey is wonderful. Second of all, she's been very much stuck in this situation. So yes, she has learned to live in that situation she's been stuck in. But also, besides the situation with the Trunchbull, she's just very good to children and people around her. Like, you're like,
and
what an asshole.
No. She is, but like only so
moron.
much, right? Like, she's great to children, but like she goes and sees the way Matilda's parents treat her and doesn't do anything about it. You know, she's just like, "Oh, they kicked me out." She sees Mrs. Trunchbull.
She says something to Matilda's parents.
Yeah, but she doesn't actually do something.
What is she supposed to do?
Call CPS. I don't know. Do something.
To be fair, Gab, by the end of the movie, she's taken the child. Like, I don't know what you want.
But it wasn't even her idea. It was Matilda's idea. Like, that's what I'm saying. She doesn't execute. She just lets these children. I mean, you see this little girl come in with her fucking pigtails, and the girl gets whipped around by Trunchbull. And then in the next scene, she's like, "Oh my God, Mr. Trunchbull is coming," and she's undoing the girl's pigtails. How about say to Mrs. Trunchbull, "You can't fucking do this to little kids, you psycho." Like, I know, but that's what's so pathetic. You can't be that good to children if you're afraid of speaking up to their abuser.
I guess. I think you're asking a lot of, again, someone who's not the main character. You're trying to give Miss Honey main character energy, and she doesn't have it. That's not her.
I'm just saying that as like the, the like heroine of the story, I guess, who like saves Matilda. I understand Matilda.
The heroine of the story.
I understand Matilda is the heroine, but I'm saying like she's Matilda's saving grace. She doesn't really do anything. Matilda saved her damn self.
Yes, but I feel like you're also over here like, why didn't Lavender take the newt and beat Trunchbull to death with it?
No,
she should have taken over the movie. Go Lavender.
Lavender's a little girl, and Mrs. Honey is an adult.
Yes, but Mrs. Honey is infantilized by Trunchbull, who still treats her like that little kid.
Well, then I don't respect her.
Okay, you don't have to.
Okay.
That also says nothing about her performance.
Yeah, you make a good point. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with her performance. I don't like the character. I guess she was fine. I don't know. She's good in the morning show.
That's fair. Just don't put that on M. Beth Davids. That's not her fault.
Yeah. What the fuck is her name?
M. Beth Davids.
Woo. And why?
I don't know. She didn't choose her name. Pam Ferris as the Trunchbull, who you may also know from Death to Smoochie, which is another Danny DeVito movie, Children of Men, and Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, who was she in that?
I think she was their aunt. I think she gets blown up to like a big balloon and starts floating away. That's all I
Yes.
remember.
Yes. I remember that.
Danny DeVito as Matilda's father and the narrator, who you may know from Taxi, The Lorax, and Batman Returns.
That's what you chose?
We've already said Danny DeVito before, so I picked some more niche things.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, back off. Rhea Perlman as Matilda's mom, who you may know from 270 episodes of Cheers, recently from Barbie, and from the Mary-Kate and Ashley movie To Grandmother's House We Go.
She was so good in Barbie.
And also that episode of SVU where she's the defense attorney for the minor who's addicted to porn and starts copying TV with the other kids at school and actually wins the defense. Then they're all like, man, maybe Hasidic Jews are right and we should disconnect from the world and not watch TV. And also, yeah, that's about it for her.
Say that again about the episode very slowly.
Oh, okay. So she's the defense attorney for this kid who his dad like works at night. So he and his little brother have been watching, like, he's been watching nonstop porn. And then he starts like, I was just doing what the kids were doing on TV with these other kids at my school. And so, like, obviously Stabler's like, your kid's trash. And, you know, he's like on trial for like sexual assault. And
How
Rhea
old
Perlman's,
is this kid?
he's young. He's like middle school. And Rhea Perlman's the defense attorney. And she's like, it's TV's fault. And somehow by the end, I think she wins and gets the kid off. And I don't remember how
Gets the kid off.
Not like that.
Hold on.
Somehow Hasidic Jews are involved because I think they tried to sneak the kid away and say like it was your outside influence that was corrupting him. That's what they talk like in the show. I'm not just terrible. But yeah. And then at the end, like Stabler's talking to the Hasidic Jew and he's like, maybe you guys have it right and we should disconnect from the world and like that type of thing. And like Richard Belzer as Munch is like, maybe it's too late. Bum, bum, wah, 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 wah.
Let me just say something.
Yes.
And I can say this because I'm a Jew, and I can say it to you because you're a Jew. The Hasids don't have it right.
No, the Hasids, most Jews don't like Hasidic Jews. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, and I don't want us to get canceled, but I will tell
not a
you.
podcast about other Jews feeling on Hasidic Jews. Let's not do that.
Yeah. But anyway.
Okay. And the last two people that I was going to point out is our speedboat salesman, Paul Rubens and Tracy Walter, who you may know as Pee Wee Herman and Bob the Goon from the first Batman movie, respectively.
Pee Wee Herman?
Yeah, Paul Rubens is Pee Wee Herman.
He played the detective.
Yes, he did.
Oh, I thought that guy looked familiar. Pee Wee Herman, R.I.P. to him.
Yeah. The music was by David Newman, who I think we've talked about before multiple times because he did a lot of music from our childhoods: Scooby-Doo, Ice Age, Galaxy Quest, Never Been Kissed, Anastasia, The Sandlot, and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Yeah.
And Mara Wilson was nominated for Leading Young Actress at the Young Artist Awards. She lost to Michelle Trachtenberg for Harriet the Spy.
Which, by the way, is one of the best movies of all time.
As someone who actually has rewatched it in the past couple months, no, it's not.
What?
Harriet's an asshole.
Are you kidding me?
Harriet is kind of an asshole in rewatching that movie. She's just gathering the secrets of everyone and like talking shit about all of them, especially her best friends. Like she's like, and here's how poor my very best friend is. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she wants to be a journalist. There are no feelings in journalism. Only facts.
I don't think you watch any journalism now. You have not watched the news.
No, I haven't. And I like it that way.
Do you want to hear some fun facts?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Are you slightly opposed to the fun facts?
I didn't know if we were going to keep talking about Harriet the Spy and Michelle Trachtenberg, but
do you want to?
Well, I was going to mention that like she and I shared a trailer for a few years, and I really appreciate her, but we don't.
That was during Gab and Michelle Trachtenberg's white trash phase when they were just trying to make it in the streets.
Yeah, we lived in a trailer down by the river. It was tough.
That was on Gossip Girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she nice,
super nice, just like a person. You know what I mean? The rest of them were a little bit like they started to get a little famous because I was only on for the last 2 seasons, so it was and I was just I was in college. You know what I mean? Like I was nobody. But yeah, Blake Lively. I from what I understand, she got better because when Corey used to work for Brunello Cucinelli, he would like I'm gonna botch what he did, but he would like shop for her for clothes for Ryan Reynolds, and she would like text him, and apparently she was like super nice, but she was a real fucking bitch to me. But that was like 14 years ago.
I've never been that big a fan of her, although I'm not a big fan of Ryan Reynolds either.
Yeah, I can appreciate Ryan Reynolds' like internet presence. And Blake Lively seems to have become a good sport, and I would assume that he wouldn't be married to her if she were still the way that she was back then. But she was not super kind to anybody, really.
XOXO, Gab.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would have written in my book.
I'm shocked I knew that much about
book.
Gossip Girl, and I'm sad that I do know that much because
very
I watched
good.
some of the. Did you watch any of the Gossip Girl like remake thing, reboot?
No, I was not interested in that.
Just I was watching it for a bit. Ooh, it was rough. It was
It
rough.
was
It
rough
felt like when
to
I watched
you
DC
or to Giselle.
to her too, but she was like committed to it, so she watched the whole thing. And it felt like when I'm watching DC shows that I hate, but I'm like, I'm committed to finishing this thing. Like that was her
Yeah.
version of like Titans or something, where it was like
Mhm.
every week I'm just gonna be disappointed, but I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Giselle ever watch Younger?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
It was a TV show with Hilary Duff was in it, and Sutton Foster played the lead. And it was this woman who pretended to be like a fresh out of college graduate to get an entry level job after she divorces her husband, and like she's just been like a stay at home mom for 20 years and ends up like doing really well, but is like pretending to be 25 and she's actually like 42 or something like that. Yeah. It was okay. What made me think of it is that it was also on Hulu along with this Gossip Girl reboot, and I remember seeing the Gossip Girl reboot when I was finishing Younger.
Is this recent?
And within like the past 5 years.
Oh, okay. It's fairly recent though.
And Younger was really good, and then it just got like worse and worse and worse and worse. But I was so committed to finishing it that I watched it, and I was like, "What a fucking waste of my time."
Ugh, reminds me of Dexter. I don't need to get into Dexter.
I've never seen it.
Don't now.
Yeah.
It'll
what I
only
hear.
rip your heart out, Gab.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Let's talk about some fun facts.
Okay.
There were 3 newts used in the film to play. The newts were Mr. Speaker, Sir Isaac, and Wayne, a reference to former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, Sir Isaac Newton, and Wayne Newton.
That's awesome. Do you remember my newts?
No,
I had newts. I had two newts.
I did not remember this.
Spike and Edwin.
I'm not figuring out how to put it into conversation, but I'm thinking of like some newts. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
it sounded like you said there were 3 nudes used, and I was like, "What?" But then I understood. The
Did you
youths.
say newts? The picture of Miss Honey's father, Magnus, is actually a portrait of Roald Dahl.
Interesting.
Mara Wilson's mother, Susie Wilson, died of breast cancer while the movie was being filmed. The movie is dedicated to her memory.
And didn't Danny DeVito get her an early screening of it?
Got the mother an early screening of it, and Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman became very close to Mara Wilson during production. According to her, DeVito and Perlman would often let her stay at their house or keep her entertained, take her out to sporting events or entertainment things while her father was working and her mother was in the hospital.
Oh.
Class acts, those two.
Yeah, I'm so sad that they're not still like in love.
I think I'm happy, I'm like, at least they're still friends, like small victory there.
Yeah, I suppose.
Apparently, as a kid, she was so self-conscious about her dancing for that little bitty pretty one sequence that Danny DeVito had the entire cast and crew dance along with her, except for the cameraman.
Oh, wait, what? I vaguely
It's when
remember.
she's dancing and moving everything around the room.
Oh, yes. That, okay, I remember. Yeah, I don't know that I would call that dancing, but yes. Oh, that's so sweet.
Danny DeVito was describing it, and it was adorable. He was like, "You feel self-conscious about dancing?" And she was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, that's because you're the only one dancing. We got to have everyone dance." And I'm like, "Oh." And I just imagining some PA on like hour 13 of his day that was like, "I'm fucking dancing for the little girl."
We gotta do the dance now for the 3rd time. Do Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman have children?
Yeah. In fact, he had a TV show he has an animated TV show like Little Evil or something like that, where he plays the devil and his daughter is like the Antichrist. It's an
Oh,
animated show,
interesting.
but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Okay. So so they're like parents and they've got this little girl that they're yeah. Okay. Cute.
On July 2nd, 2013, most of the cast got together for a reunion where they had a tea party and ran famous lines from the movie.
Oh,
I think it's also like an extra on the DVD. It's very cute.
yeah. Sweet.
In the movie, Miss Honey as a child had a doll named Lissy Doll. One of the producers of the film is Roald Dahl's widow, Lissy Doll.
Oh,
We already talked about Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman. Another connection to Law and Order SVU.
hmm
Supposedly, Mariska Hargitay turned down the role of Miss Honey. Also, Winona Ryder turned down the role of Miss Honey for The Crucible,
Mistake.
and Rosie O'Donnell turned down the role of Miss Honey for Harriet the Spy.
Big victory for her.
I do feel like that is one of her most memorable roles, but who knows? Maybe if she had done this, maybe this would have been one of her most memorable roles.
Yeah. You know what's you want to hear something really funny?
What?
Today, Corey and I were doing this workout where you basically had to go from the rower to the barbell and then do something else with the barbell. And Corey was like, listen, I'm not Russian. All right. I'm going to mosey. I'm Mosey O'Donnell. Oh, that made me laugh so hard. I am Mosey O'Donnell.
That's pretty good.
It was good.
And the last thing I got here, whatever they were using to make the chokey have steam, stink like rotten eggs. So when Miss Honey takes Matilda out of the chokey, you can see her initially covering her nose because the smell is so bad.
That's so funny. The chokey.
Yeah.
Why?
What do you mean, why? What would
Like,
be
why?
terrifying to a little kid? Being put in timeout, but in the worst timeout possible.
I guess. All right. Okay.
You're too old for this movie,
I
Gav.
suppose.
I feel like, do you remember the movie Homeward Bound?
No.
You don't remember the movie Homeward Bound?
Listen, it had a dog in it, right?
Yeah. Two
Yeah.
dogs and a cat.
I know. And my mother was not going to let me watch something where a dog got hurt because I would literally not be okay.
Well, first of all, the dogs all make it fine. But Shadow, the older dog, there's a moment where like the dog and the cat make it back, and Shadow, the older dog, isn't there. And the kid, like, I guess each pet is like sort of closest to one of the kids. So the two kids are like, yeah, you made it back. And then you just see the oldest kid, and he's just like, he was too old. And like, it's just such a sad moment. And that's me with you right now with Matilda.
Aw.
She was too
Aw.
old.
That's sad. Yeah, that would have devastated me as a child. There's no way my mom was going to let me watch that.
Immediately comes like limping into the frame, and he's like, Peter, I missed you so much in his old man voice. It's adorable.
Oh,
I can
couldn't
hear the
even watch
music
that
right now. Oh,
Oh,
we should
God.
do that. That's a great movie.
No,
it'll
I
make me too
can't.
sad.
I can't. Please don't. Please don't.
Okay, I guess it's time for verdicts.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished.
Sentence is death.
Gab, I think that this is a delightful 90-minute film. We put a lot of value on time, I feel like, you and I.
We do. Yeah. I love a movie that isn't 3 hours long.
We're like, this is paid the ultimate price of being 105 minutes of my time. But no, I think this is filled with charismatic, memorable performances by Danny DeVito, Rhea Perlman, Pam Ferris. I love every one of the characters, and I feel like there are so many lines that are just in my memory. I will always know the song "Send Me on My Way" by Rusted Root because of this movie, which it's just burned in my memory. I don't know. Maybe you never knew that song until now, but I've always known that song that's like "Send Me on My Way, send me on my way." Do you not know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh my god, it's like do 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 do. Enjoy that, podcast listeners.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's great. I think it's incredibly entertaining, and I think obviously it's better the younger you see it. Gab, crush my hopes and dreams.
Well, listen, here's the thing, Dill. I'm
Cut
on
my
the
life
fence.
into pieces.
This is your last resort. You know, Corey did not watch this with me, and I'm going to tell you what. We were together on Sunday night, and we were on a roll with 90 Day Fiance, and the drama was getting good. And he was like, "Oh, we should turn this off and watch Matilda." And I was like, "Oh, you've already seen it. I'll watch it tomorrow by myself." So I watched it Monday night by myself, and after I watched it, he asked me what I thought, and I said, it didn't live up to the hype. And he said, yeah, but it's a kid's movie. And I was like, I know. And he was like, but you would watch it with our kids, right? Like it's like, if it were on, it wouldn't be like, oh my God, get me out of the room. And I was like, that's a good point. If my kids were like, let's watch a movie, and I didn't want to watch something that was going to make me want to gash my eyes out, I wouldn't be opposed to this movie. Danny DeVito and you keep saying Rhea. Isn't it Rhea?
I don't know.
Rhea Perlman.
I'm not concerned enough with it.
I'm just curious. You say things weird sometimes. Are great.
Thanks.
The story was all right. Ultimately what I think about the story is that it felt like it started out Roald Dahl, like kind of weird, and then it was like not enough Roald Dahl. Like I'd be interested to know what the actual story of Matilda, like what happens and what they changed.
The only change I remember, because I know I read the book as a kid, is that she does lose her powers at the end.
Okay, interesting. Maybe the depiction is just different then. But what I'm leaning toward is, as a kids movie, yeah, it's not the worst kids movie I've ever seen. As a movie, like a blanket statement, as a movie you must watch before you die. I almost died before I had ever watched this movie. If it weren't for this podcast, I never probably would have watched this movie. And I probably would have been okay. So I don't want to devastate you, and I don't want to get a hit put out on me by some other people our age who love this movie. But it really, I mean, I'm talking about, how long ago was 96? What are we, 31? We were born in 92.
27.
So for 27 years, people have been talking about how fucking great this movie was. And I have 27 years of, you got to watch it. You got to watch it. It's so good. You got to watch it. And it just really didn't live up to 27 years of hype. So
curse your cold heart, Gab.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I mean, I didn't hate it, but it didn't do it for me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Dill. I really wanted to love it.
That's okay, Gab. I've been emotionally preparing myself for at least 30 minutes.
I know.
I'm not that shocked to hear it. I do think you'd have a different opinion if you had seen it as a kid. And I blame myself that during one of the times you slept over at our house, I didn't say, Gab, let's watch Matilda.
Dylan, there were years where we had sleepovers every weekend.
I should have done it.
That is on you.
I could have changed this outcome today.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I wanted to love it. And honestly, I went in, like the first scene with Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman and the baby in the car. And, I was like, this is good. I'm going to love this. And then it just kind of, anytime Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman were not on the screen, I was like, meh.
Okay. All right. I guess we say the things we say at the end now, Gab. Do you know what we're doing next week?
Oh man, I've had so many ideas come into and out of my head. Next week, I'm just gonna sit here and look at the list. So no, I don't know what we're doing.
So we'll leave the listener in suspense then. Gab, what are the things we say at the end here?
Well, please write us an email. We're begging you. We will do anything. Just write us an email. It doesn't even have to say anything. Just compose an email, leave it blank, and hit send. You can send that blank email to movies-to-watch-before-you-die@gmail.com. You can also send a voice note. That one I don't believe can be blank, but it can be sent to anchor.fm/movies-to-watch. You can comment. You can subscribe. You can, as the kids say, smash the like button. You can do all of these things. The only thing you can't do is hurt someone else.
Oh, that was a very pleasant ending of that. We're also a member of the Hall of Pods podcasting network. So if you look in the link tree below, you can click on that to see our podcasting friends. And also, if you do send us a blank email, I'm now picturing some sort of Mad Lib scenario. So please just blank out some words and we'll fill it in.
Yes, please. The madder, the better.
Yeah. All right. Well, what was it you said with James? I would hate to have somebody watch a movie I loved as a child and just not give a shit about it. I should have seen this coming. Yeah.
Sorry. I really wanted to love it.
Better luck next time, I suppose.
Don't people need good cars? Can't you sell good cars, Dad?
Listen, you little wiseacre. I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it.